Hey y'all, today's video is a special one. I'm going to be sharing some Halloween dinner ideas. So if you are trying to figure out what to make on Halloween night to make it a little extra special, I have got 5 different dinners throughout the video, several different recipes, and I just really hope that there's at least one in here that looks and sounds good to you. If you know me at all, I've said it many times, fall and Halloween is just my absolute favorite time of the year. I love everything about it. So I always try to do what I can to make it, a little extra special. And plus, Halloween is my daughter's birthday. She's my oldest. So I just really try to go all out. And I just really enjoyed putting this video together. Had a lot of fun. The kids really got a kick out of it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Let's go ahead and get into the recipes. First up, I'm going to make a family favorite, and that is this $1 million baked tortellini. If you have been with me for a while, you have probably seen me make this in the past. It's very easy, and we just love it. So you start off by cooking up a pound of ground beef. I did end up seasoning that meat with some Lorry seasoned salt, black pepper, and onion powder. At this point, I'm just going to stir those seasonings in good, let that meat finish cooking, and then I will drain the grease. I did add in a big spoonful of minced garlic. I just went with the jarred stuff, and I'm just going to cook that with the beef for a good minute. You will need a jar of spaghetti sauce, whatever kind you want to, of course. This was my first time trying out the Aldi brand. I had a friend recommend that to me, and it was pretty good. I'm definitely not picky when it comes to brands of spaghetti sauce. I do always add in a little bit of water at the end to make sure that I get all of it out. You will need a pound of cheese tortellini. You can use either fresh or frozen. I went ahead and went with the frozen kind, and I'm just following the directions on the back of the bag, but I am going to take off 1 minute from the cook time, and then I'm going to drain it, add it back into that pot, and then I will dump in all of that meat sauce that I just made and toss the tortellini to coat. Now, in the past, I believe I have always used fresh tortellini for this recipe, and I have to say that I do much prefer that. I think it tastes better, but don't get me wrong, the frozen one is good, and I was just trying to save a few bucks. So now to a small mixing bowl, I'm going to mix together a block of cream cheese that is at room temperature. I have a cup of ricotta cheese and a teaspoon each of onion powder, garlic powder, and some salt. So just mixing that together good, and then I'm going to grab my 9x13 casserole dish. Gonna spray it down with some Pam, and I'm gonna add in about half of that tortellini, making sure to spread that out evenly. And for the next step, you are supposed to take that cream cheese and ricotta mixture and spread that out over the top. I found that to be pretty difficult. I don't remember if I had this much trouble the last few times that I made it. I don't remember having this much trouble, but I also don't have the best memory. I try to place big dollops all over the casserole and then take the back of my spatula to spread it out. It just wasn't cutting it, so I decided to just stir it all together. It's not going to make that big of a difference. Maybe my cream cheese wasn't as room temperature as I thought. Maybe it was the brand of cream cheese I used. I don't know. Again, not a big deal. But now that I got that all mixed together, I'm going to take the rest of that tortellini, dump it on the top, spread it out, and now I'm going to start making the creepy face to make it Halloween themed. So I actually saw this idea on TikTok last year, I believe, and I was also able to find it on Pinterest. So I went ahead and saved it. That way I could remember it. I will link that in my description box to give her the credit. She actually did this over top of a lasagna. So keep that in mind. You can do it with, a baked spaghetti, a lasagna, or like I did, the $1 million tortellini. So yeah, she did specify to use bagged shredded cheese versus shredding it yourself for this. That way it will hold its shape. I did take some extra pizza sauce and kind of go back over the open spaces. For the eyes, I'm going to use a mini bell pepper. She used some black sliced olives, and I forgot to buy that at the store. And on this night, I was not in the mood to run to the store for one little item like that. So I improvised. I have this little biscuit cutter. It came in a set of all different sizes of biscuit cutters, and I took the smallest one and just made some circles with the pepper. So we got some orange creepy eyes, and then you're going to need a few stalks of asparagus, and I think I cut it into thirds after I chopped off those woody ends and got rid of those. And we're going to use some for the teeth. I realized here that I probably didn't make the mouth wide enough, so I'm just taking some extra pizza sauce to widen up that mouth, or you could also just cut the asparagus into smaller little pieces, but just making it work. So there's the mouth. I'm also going to take 2 pieces of the asparagus to make eyebrows, and then the final 2 pieces to make the nose. So that's going to go in the oven at 350. I got it covered with foil. It's going to bake for 30 minutes, and then I'll take the foil off, let it bake uncovered for 10 minutes. So while that is baking, towards the end of it, I am going to put together a little salad. And for the cheese, I am going to use these little letter cookie cutters. I got these a few years back. I actually did this idea a few years back. I did a Caesar salad with some type of white cheese. I can't exactly remember. But yeah, I got those cookie cutters off of Amazon. If I can still find those, I will link those in my description box. But basically, what I'm doing is I am just cutting out the letters to spell boo. And I'm going to do it 4 times since we are a family of 4. I'm just doing it with some sharp cheddar cheese slices, but you can do it with any cheese, obviously. And you will need a toothpick to get those letters to pop out. So now that that is done, I'm going to start assembling the salad. So in my salad bowl, I'm just adding some iceberg lettuce that I cut, washed, and dried really good. I also diced up 2 small Roma tomatoes. So just throwing that over top of the lettuce. I'm also going to do a couple handfuls of croutons, and I did give it a little toss here because I didn't think the cheese would lay on top of all those croutons like that. So now I'm just going to start arranging that all over top of the salad. Now, my kids, I have never been able to get them to eat salad. I have tried. Every time I make a salad, it's always offered to them. I thought if I did this, maybe it would really encourage them to eat it. But they just picked off the cheese and ate that like on its own. But again, it's always available to them. Also, I have been loving these garlic knots from the Walmart bakery. You bake them in the bag, which always feels so wrong to me, but they are absolutely delicious. I wish that I had been buying those sooner. But here is the setup. That $1 million tortellini turned out awesome. The kids really got a kick out of that. They loved it. Of course, those garlic knots are good. And then there is that salad that pretty much me and my husband just ate, other than the kids eating the cheese, like I said. But I've got some ranch back there that we added on top of our salads. But yeah, this is a really easy option for a Halloween dinner. Here is my plate. It all came out so good. I feel like those garlic knots kind of resemble like bones or bone joints, as gross as that sounds, but definitely very fitting with the theme. Up next, I am going to make some spooky pizzas. So I'm going to make a homemade pizza dough for that. So that's just a cup of warm water, 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. You'll need a tablespoon of either honey or sugar. I'm using honey, and I'm just going to give that a quick little stir, and you want to leave it alone anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. That way the yeast can activate. You'll know it's activated when it's like foamy on top. If it is not, you'll need to start over. So after my yeast was activated, I added in a teaspoon of salt, and you also need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm actually completely out of olive oil right now. I did have some avocado oil that I bought earlier in the year from Costco, so that's what I'm using. I don't know if that makes a big difference. If you know any better, definitely let me know in the comments. But I'm also adding in 2 cups of all-purpose flour here. The recipe specifically calls for bread flour, but again, I'm using all-purpose. So once I get that mixed, I'm going to go ahead and add in a final cup of flour. So 3 cups total for this pizza dough that will make 2 pizzas. You can actually use a little less than that. It all depends on humidity. I'm not the best, knowledgeable in that area. Just do my best. I actually do think I added a little bit too much flour just by the way it felt, but oh well. Once it comes off of the bowl and it's clean, forms a ball, I let it knead for 6 minutes. And then after the 6 minutes, I take it out. I oil my bowl really well, and then just kind of roll my ball all around in that. That way it doesn't like get a weird film on it, dry out. Cover it with some cling wrap, and I'm going to set that to the side, let that rise anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. So while I'm waiting for that to happen, I'm going to put together the buffalo chicken dip. So for my buffalo chicken dip, I always use 2 blocks of cream cheese. I had to use a tub of like cream cheese spread because one of my cream cheese blocks has went missing. I don't know. It has drove me nuts. But I am going to microwave that cream cheese for about 45 seconds just to make it easier to like mix. And I always like to use a rotisserie chicken for my buffalo chicken dip. You don't have to, but that's what I like to do. I just shredded 2 of the breasts and 2 of the thighs over the bowl. And then you'll need a cup of ranch. I'm using buttermilk ranch. And I do 3/4 of a cup of Frank's red hot sauce. You could use buffalo sauce if you wanted to, but I use the hot sauce. And then I did have a little bit of this Kinder's buffalo sauce left in my fridge. I wanted to use that up, so I went ahead and added that in there as well. I don't normally do that, but I have bragged on that buffalo sauce a lot lately because it is just so good. We love the flavor. And then I did shred up an 8-ounce block of sharp cheddar cheese. I added about a cup into the mixture, and I'm just going to get that stirred together well. Normally, I'm completely fine with using like bag shredded cheese for this, but I didn't have any on this day, so that's why I shredded my own. But I'm just going to get that dumped out into a 9x9 greased casserole dish. Most of the time when I make buffalo chicken dip, I do it in the crock pot. I just cook it on high for like an hour or 2 and then flip it on to warm. But every now and then I will bake it in the oven, and this just worked out better for what I was wanting to do, which you'll see here in a second. But I am going to take that other cup of cheese and sprinkle that over the top. And then I'm going to take some mozzarella cheese slices and a ghost cookie cutter, and I'm going to cut out some little ghost shapes to put over top of the buffalo chicken dip. I use cookie cutters a lot when it comes to like themed anything. I feel like it's just such a great little easy hack. I don't really feel like I'm all that creative, so this just makes it really easy for me. So I've got tons of different cookie cutters for all different occasions. So now I'm just going to take those cute little ghosts and place that over top of the dip. And I'm going to bake this at 350 degrees for anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. So while that's baking, I'm going to start putting together the pizzas. So as you can see, that dough has definitely doubled in size. I have got 2 foil-lined cookie sheets laid out. I did spray them with some ham. And I just used some scissors to cut that dough in half to evenly distribute it between each pan. Now, for this first one, I'm going to make a jack-o'-lantern pizza. I am using my hands to do that. I also ended up using a rolling pin to help me. I discovered it's easier to do that like on the counter versus on the cookie sheet. That way I could use my rolling pin a little bit better, but here I'm just trying to make like a rounded rectangle, and then I'll take the top here and kind of form like a pumpkin stem. Let me tell y'all, I stressed all day about forming the pizza dough for this because I thought that it was going to be so difficult, but it was not difficult at all. I stressed myself out for nothing, and I hate when I do that. Like, do y'all do that too? Like certain things that you plan on cooking, you just sit there and overthink it all day long, and then it ends up being nothing. So I don't know. But for this second one, I'm going to make a little ghost. So this one was even easier than the first. As you see, I'm just stretching out a head, 2 arms, and then we're going to make like a long curved tail. So there we go, a jack-o'-lantern and a ghost. So got those back onto the cookie sheets, and I'm just going to add on the pizza sauce. I ended up finishing the jar I had in my fridge, and then I ended up cracking open a new one. What is your all's like favorite store-bought pizza sauce? So far, mine is the Classico brand. It's a little bit more pricey, definitely not too bad or anything, but I buy it sometimes, but on this day, I'm just using what I already had in the pantry and in the fridge. But after I got that pizza sauce added, I'm just sprinkling it with some bottled Parmesan cheese. I always like to do that when making homemade pizzas. I feel like it gives it some extra flavor. And then I will, of course, start layering on some shredded mozzarella cheese. And then the design is so very easy. For the jack-o'-lantern, I just took a pepperoni for the eyes, cut it in half. For the nose, just a small triangle. And then I'm going to make a big smiley face using that pepperoni. And then for that second pizza, the ghost one, it's even easier. I'm just going to use 2 pepperonis for the eyes and 1 for the mouth. So I bake those at 450 degrees, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. And then when that buffalo chicken dip was done, I'm just going to take this little tube of black writing gel to make the eyes and the mouth. It worked perfectly, and I feel like that tube will last me for quite a few holidays. For the chips for the dip, I found these Better Goods guacamole flavored chips. I had never bought these before, but I knew the color of them would be perfect for what I was going for, but they taste really good. I'm definitely going to repurchase those. So here's how those pizzas came out from the oven. I did transfer those to just some wooden boards that I already had just to make it look a little bit nicer. And I thought this buffalo chicken dip turned out so cute. Buffalo chicken dip is definitely one of our favorite party foods to make. The chips were awesome. This whole spread, I was just very pleased with it. And if you want to make it even easier, you can definitely buy store-bought pizza dough or even the kind in the can and use a cookie cutter to shape it. But I thought that was so fun for a Halloween movie night. This is my plate. I got a lot of the dip, and I've been loving this Hidden Valley garlic ranch for my pizza. And I am not a Hidden Valley ranch person, but that garlic ranch is seriously amazing. Up next, I'm going to be making some bat fries as a side dish. So here I've just got some yellow potatoes that I washed well, and then I'm just going to simply slice these into long slices, as you can see. Be very careful. I cut myself here. I swear I'm always cutting myself. Need to get better at that. But here I just have a small little bat cookie cutter, and I'm simply just gonna press out the shapes of bats. Very easy. I did end up having to use most of a 5-pound bag in order to have enough for my family. So that was a little bit time consuming, but it is all right. Halloween just comes once a year, and there was a lot of scraps left over, as you can probably tell, and I cannot waste anything. It's just not in me if I can help it. So I ended up making mashed potatoes with the scraps as well. So as I was cutting those, I was adding those into a bowl of water so that they wouldn't turn brown. I added in some ice, and I'm going to let that sit for 30 minutes. That's going to leave for crispy potatoes. So for the main course, I'm going to make some spider hot dogs. Very easy, very fun. You just need some hot dogs, crescent rolls, and some olives with pimentos. So the first thing I did was open up the crescent rolls. You only need 4. So for the other 4, I made a quick dessert with Nutella. Afterwards, I'm kind of kicking myself for not filming that, but you just take each crescent roll and cut it into 2 pieces. And then as for the hot dogs, I like to use the bun length beef hot dogs. Those are our favorites. And on each end, you're just going to cut it into quarters. So 4 little pieces there. You want to leave the middle untouched. You don't want to cut the middle. And then you're just going to take one of those crescent wraps and simply wrap it around the middle. Again, very fast. So I did that to all of them and got those on a parchment lined cookie sheet. Lastly, I just took a few of those olives and I just carefully sliced them to make some eyes. These came out to be perfect. And you just want to, gently press them into the crescent roll so that they will stick. But those get baked at 375 degrees, anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes. So for the other side dish, I'm going to make some green mac and cheese. So to some boiling salted water, I'm going to add in 3 cups of elbow macaroni noodles, and I'm just going to cook those according to the package, and then I'm going to drain those, and then in that same saucepan, I'm going to add in 4 tablespoons of butter, let it melt down. Then I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons of some all-purpose flour, whisk that, let it cook down for a couple of minutes. I added in some garlic powder and black pepper to that roux. And now I'm going to add in some milk. So I'm going to do 1.5 cups of milk. I'm using 2% because that is mostly what I buy, but any milk should be fine. Just use what you got. So to make it green, I got 4 cups of spinach and a half a cup of milk in my blender, and I'm just going to blend that for a couple of minutes until it's perfectly smooth. It comes out this awesome green color, and I'm just going to dump all of that on into my saucepan, give it a quick stir, and then for the cheeses, I'm going to do 2 2/3 of a cup of some shredded white cheddar cheese, as well as 2/3 a cup of some shredded Parmesan cheese. Did shred the Parmesan cheese myself, not that really matters, but I'm also going to add in just a little bit of seasoned salt. You can use regular salt if you want to, and I just stirred that until the cheese was fully melted. Didn't take long at all. So lastly, all I got to do is add in that cooked and drained pasta, and I'm just gonna stir it to coat. And I loved how saucy this mac and cheese was. It wasn't dry at all. Now the last thing that I gotta finish is those bat fries. So I just dried them really well with paper towels, and then I dropped them in my deep fryer, and I just simply cooked them until they were golden brown and crispy. Like I always say, I do prefer to deep fry outside. I really wish I did that because, again, I just hate that smell. But here's how those spider hot dogs came out. I think they turned out awesome. As you can see, it kind of curls up. This is the perfect Halloween mac and cheese. This is exactly what I was going for, and the kids love the taste of it. I was a little worried, but it came out great. And the bat potatoes were also really amazing. Every bit of this got ate up really quick. It was a huge hit. I just think this one is very fun, and those spider hot dogs turned out a lot better than what I was expecting. Me and my husband enjoy them just as much as the kids. For the next dinner, I'm going to start off with a side dish again. So I'm making some twice baked potatoes. So here I've just got 4 russet potatoes that I washed really well and dried off. I poked holes all in the potatoes, and then I just drizzled them with a little bit of oil, sprinkled on some sea salt. So I'm just going in with my hands to massage the oil and the salt evenly all over the skins. And then I bake those at 400 degrees for 1 hour. I do come in and flip them after 30 minutes so that they evenly cook. So here we are after the hour of bake time. They're crispy on the outside, fluffy on the insides. And then I just got all of those cut in half. And after they cool down for about 10 minutes, I am going to go in with a spoon and scoop out the insides. Now, you don't want to completely scoop it out. You definitely want to leave like a bit of a border so that they can hold up to the filling. So I am going to place those skins back in that 400 degree oven for 10 minutes so that they can kind of firm up. And then I'm going to doctor up the inside. So I added a half a stick of butter. I did a healthy drizzle of heavy cream, 2 big spoonfuls of sour cream, some dried chives, and some seasoned salt and pepper, as well as some paprika. So now I'm just getting that mixed together with my electric mixer until it was nice and smooth. And then I am going to take a big handful of some shredded sharp cheddar cheese, and I'm just going to fold that into the filling. So I did end up transferring that to a piping bag, and what I envisioned is to kind of pop this in here to look like brains. I thought that my kids would really get a kick out of that, and hopefully you can see the vision that I had. It was working out here, but as they baked, you couldn't even tell that I piped this in there. I honestly think it's because I got a little heavy-handed with the heavy cream. If you made it like thicker, don't add too much liquid. I feel like it should hold its shape, but just mine didn't, but truly not a big deal. After I got all of that added in there, I did sprinkle on a little extra cheese over the top. Now, normally when I make twice baked potatoes, I always top it with bacon, but I decided not to this time. But those did go back in the oven for 15 minutes. So for the main course, we're going to do some Philly cheesesteak quesadillas. So as you can see here, I got a pound sirloin steak for just a little bit under $13. And to feed 4 people, I truly do not think that that's bad at all. I really try my best to budget the best way that I know how. But I just took that steak and sliced it as thinly as possible. And then I'm just going to transfer all of that into a gallon Ziploc bag. And now I'm going to season it up. So I'm going to go in with a teaspoon of seasoned salt, a teaspoon of this steak seasoning, Montreal steak seasoning, and about a half a teaspoon of pepper. So that's it. I'm just going to seal that up, give it a good shake. I'm also going to massage it in really well. Just make sure that all of your steak is evenly seasoned. And I'm just going to let that chill out on the counter for a bit, kind of bring it up to room temperature. Steak always cooks a lot better at room temperature versus like straight from the fridge. So I'm going to take this time to carve out some creepy faces in some tortillas for the quesadillas. I have done many variations of Halloween quesadillas over the years. I just think it's a really easy option that my family really enjoys. So I'm just taking a sharp knife. As you can see, I've cut out the eyes. For the nose, I just did 2 small triangles. And the mouth was the easiest part. I just did a big smiley face. So just got to repeat that 3 more times. Not bad at all. So in my cast iron skillet, I've heated up a tablespoon of oil. I did slice up a whole green bell pepper. I am going to season the peppers with some seasoned salt and some pepper. And I'm just going to saute that down for like 5 to 6 minutes. Honestly, I was the only one that wanted the peppers on their quesadilla, so I ended up eating this whole pepper in one night, and it is something that I truly enjoy. Like, I love some sauteed peppers. So after those were cooked to my liking, I just got those transferred to a bowl, and then I'm going to re-oil my skillet. So just drizzling in a good amount, making sure that that is fully coating the bottom. As you can see, it's smoking. It's nice and hot. I don't know what happened to the footage of me dumping that steak out, but I dumped it in there, and I'm using my tongs to, get it pulled apart. I literally cooked this for probably only 2 minutes. This cooks up so insanely fast. Remember, it is cut into really thin strips, so it's going to cook even faster, but I was making a point to not overcook these even slightly. So the minute they were all browned, I removed those onto a separate plate. So there's that juicy, delicious steak. Very easy. So now I'm going to start making the quesadillas. So I always like to cook my quesadillas in butter. Just love the flavor it gives. It always makes it nice and golden as well. I did buy some thinly sliced provolone cheese, so I coated the bottom in that. And then I'm just layering on some of that steak. This is my quesadilla, so I did load it up with the peppers. And I forgot to mention earlier, but if you like onions, you can obviously saute that with the peppers if you want. I did top it with a couple more pieces of the provolone. That way the top piece would stick to it. And I just let that cook on about a medium heat for a few minutes. And then I like to transfer it to a plate, re-butter that skillet so that they, both sides can be equally buttered. And yeah, flip it on over there, cook it for a few more minutes. And here's what they looked like. I think that these are perfect for Halloween. They definitely look super creepy and bizarre. And here's those potatoes after they came out of the oven. I topped them with some more chives. Like I said, they lost their shape, but they were seriously the best tasting twice baked potatoes I think that I have ever made. And here is my plate. Everything was honestly 10 out of 10. For the last dinner in this video, I'm going to make some Crockpot chicken pot pie. We love this recipe. I've shared it before. I typically make it with chicken thighs though. We much prefer that. But I had some chicken breast thawed out, so that's what I'm going to use. It's good with that too. So I've got 2 chicken breasts in the bottom of my Crockpot. I've added a half a cup of chicken broth. And here I'm just seasoning up the chicken. So I'm just doing some salt, pepper, onion powder. And I did measure out a 1/4 teaspoon each of some dried thyme and some dried rosemary. You're also going to need 2 cans of cream of chicken soup. And my local grocery stores actually have had these marked down to $1 lately. So that is nice. Typically, I would get the store brand. But since the price is going down, I've been getting the Campbell's. It is my favorite. And I have noticed every November they mark it down like as cheap as it'll go. It could go even below $1. I can't remember exactly what it is. I know grocery prices are rising, but hopefully they continue to keep that deal this year. So yeah, I just spread that out. After I got those dumped out, I'm adding in a spoonful of some jarred minced garlic. I also chopped up 3 yellow potatoes. I'm just sprinkling that over the top. And then lastly, I'm just going to grab a bag of these frozen mixed vegetables and dump that over the top. And I ended up cooking mine on high for about 4 hours, but You could also do low for however long you like to cook your chicken dishes. But here we are after it is fully cooked. I'm just going in with 2 forks and I am getting my chicken shredded up. It fell apart super easily. I do wish that I sprayed my crock pot with some Pam because I had a little bit of sticking going on, but not that big of a deal. Lastly, I'm going to add in about a half a cup of some sour cream, and I'm going to mix that in real good. Now, the sour cream is optional. You definitely don't have to add it if you don't like sour cream, but if you do, why not? You know, it just makes it a little creamier. But that is it. Super easy. You can top it with biscuits if you want a normal chicken pot pie, but to fit the theme, what I'm going to do is grab a roll of puff pastry, and here we go again with the cookie cutters. I'm going to use a few different ones this time. We've got a witch's hat. I've got a pumpkin one. I'm also going to do a cat and a ghost. So I ended up doing 8 of these. So I figured 2 per person would be good. And that ended up working out perfectly. So now I just have an egg wash here. So that's just an egg with a little bit of water beaten together. And with my silicone brush, I'm just going to evenly brush that over top of the puff pastry. You probably don't have to do that, but if you want it to be like glossy and golden, I recommend it. And I just simply bake those going off the directions on the back of the package, and look at how cute that turned out. You know, it's a little bit different than the typical biscuit. We really enjoyed it. So that is all the ideas that I got for y'all in this video. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and if you celebrate Halloween, happy Halloween, and if you don't, I hope that you all have the best weekend. I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.